This is Dr. Mike McKinney. I'm president of the Promise Broadcasting Network here in the beautiful city of Pasadena. And each week we endeavor to bring you interesting guests on this telecast. And today is no exception. We have a very dear friend in studio with us today, Dr. Larry Montgomery. Larry, it's good to see you.
Thank you, Mike.
And you are with the Christian Community Credit Union, and I understand you're Director of Membership.
Yes.
Well, we welcome you on the show.
Thank you, Mike.
And tell us about your work with the credit union and what you're doing. And
well,
it's very interesting.
First of all, I'm very excited to be here, Mike, and thank you for inviting me today. I'd like to talk maybe about just a couple of things about your credit score, the FICO, and then also a little bit about a credit union versus a bank and what is the difference.
All right.
But I always like to start out with a little story. Everybody strives to achieve things, and you start out as a child, and as you grow, your goals seem to increase. Some people strive, they feel they've made it if they get their BMW, or if they get the big house on the hill, they've made it. Mm-hmm. Well, when I was real small, I was striving to belong to the Fruit of the Month Club.
Did you say the Fruit of the Month Club?
Fruit of the Month.
Okay.
Well, we would get a picture from David and Harry from Oregon, and they would send out fruit once a month. And one month it might be pears, and next month it could be apples or whatever. And they put them in these little cute little wrappers. And I thought that was always so exciting, but it was out of my reach. I just couldn't. I couldn't afford that.
Couldn't afford it.
And over the years, well, good old David and Harry, they kept raising the price of their fruit, and I've never been able to belong to the club. But I was reading the Bible, and it's an amazing thing. But God is going to sign me up for the Fruit of the Month Club when I get to heaven.
Wow, wonderful.
It's actually in the Bible, Mike.
All right.
And I want to show you where it is. And you can write this down. It's in Revelations 22:2. And I am so excited because now I don't have to strive to belong to that club.
That's right.
And it says in Revelations 22, it says, "Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, as clear as a crystal, flowing from the throne of God and the Lamb down to the middle of the great street of the city. On each side of the river stood the tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, yielding their fruit every month."
Oh, that's wonderful.
Isn't that exciting?
That's very
Boy,
exciting.
I'm going to belong to that club when I get to heaven. But
absolutely.
God is so good. He just gives us things beyond belief, and this is just one of the things I'm excited about. Anyway, Mike, the FICO is your credit score, and everybody has a credit score usually, and they've made some changes in the way they give you your credit score, and also changes in some of the rules and regulations.
I see.
And I put on financial classes when I travel around the country, and I was in Sacramento putting on a financial class. And I don't teach people how to balance their checkbook. I tell them about the process and what's changing in the investment industry,
Sure.
and also with the banks and credit unions. I had given my talk, and I always open up to people who would like to ask questions. And one lady said, my husband and I we're distressed. We are refinancing our house. She said we were paying 7% interest on our home, and we got approved by the bank, and they lowered it to 5%. And she said it was going to be significant, hundreds of dollars a month, and they were very excited. And the bank had called them and said that they were approved and that they would be processing the loan in 1 week. And she said, well, we're so excited because this is just going to be such a burden lifted from us. And she said the day before we were supposed to be funded, the bank called and said, well, we're really sorry, but you don't qualify anymore.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was. And she said, well, why don't we qualify? And the bank said, well, your credit score was in the low 800s, which is the very best in the country, and your credit score is now at 400, which is the worst in the country. Oh. And they said, well, how could that be? And the bank said, well, what we do is before we fund the money, usually the day before, we run another credit check on you, and we found out that one of you or your husband, co-signed apparently for a son or daughter for an automobile. And she said, yes. Our son came home from school, and he went to buy a car, and the car dealer said, well, it's going to be 20%. But if you can get your mom or dad to sign this loan,
sure,
it's going to be about 4%. So we co-signed the loan, not realizing that the new rule says that whenever you co-sign for anybody, your credit score will drop to the lowest credit score of that person you're signing for.
Oh, my.
So what happened, Mike, is their credit score was at 800, dropped to 400, and they couldn't get their loan. These people are devastated.
It must have been, yeah.
And most people don't realize that. And so we always say, be very cautious. Do not co-sign for anybody, for a mother, brother, sister, particularly for grandparents co-signing for their grandchildren. It's always so nice to help the kids out.
Sure.
But you don't want to co-sign anymore. And so what we recommend you do is if they can't get their loan, then you put the loan in your name by yourself and don't put their name on it to maintain your high score.
I see.
And then another very important factor, do not ever turn over the payment book to whoever you're co-signing for. You hold the payment book and you require them to make the payment to you, and then you will pay the bank or whoever is holding the loan for the automobile. In fact, this is good for any loan, that you should always keep that policy, particularly for children, younger people. They have a difficult time with their credit score.
Yes.
And they have a difficult time managing their money, and this is a part of the system that you can help them. So we recommend that you do not co-sign. And actually, Mike, in the Bible, it does say something about co-signing.
All right.
Proverbs 22:7. It says here, the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is the slave to the lender.
That's very true, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Now, we do have to borrow money for things like homes and cars, but we need to be very, very cautious about that. Your FICO score will really control your life, basically. And there's new rules coming out with FICO. There's so many people that do not have a FICO score. We have many people coming from abroad and from foreign countries that do not have a FICO score. And between FICO and banks, they've decided there's 53 million people that do not qualify for credit cards. So for those people, they're going to change in a matter of a couple months. What they're going to do is they're going to check your utility bills, which they've never done before. Your utility bills never showed up on FICO. So now your water, your gas, and your electric will show up on the FICO. And then if you do not have a home or a car, they will give you your credit depending on how you pay your utility bills.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And people are usually forced to pay utility bills, or guess what? If you don't pay, you know what happens, Mike?
Shut it off, right?
They shut you down, yeah. So this is coming down the pike, too, for people that do not qualify. There's a couple other things, Mike, with the credit unions. And versus a bank, a credit union is a nonprofit. Credit unions are exactly the same as a bank. We operate the same way. We give the same services, checking, savings, car loans, home loans.
Yes.
But we're a nonprofit like your church. And so we can actually offer better rates for your deposits and your savings, and we can offer free checking and savings, as you will normally see. Your local credit union will normally give you all the services free, but the bank has to charge. Because the bank does have to make a profit. They have stockholders, and they have people that they have to pay. Credit unions do not have stockholders. We have members. And so when you open an account at a credit union, you're actually becoming a part owner of the credit union, basically. And so that's how credit unions can give you better service and give you better rates on everything that you have there. Because the credit union strives to give service over making a profit. So in the back of the mind, you don't have to make a profit, you have to give good service. And also, we do not have to charge the fees. So if you belong to one credit union, you can always join another credit union. It's amazing how credit unions got started. They got started actually in the early 1900s.
I was going to ask you a little bit about the history of the credit union.
Yes, they were started for people to put their money, pool their money for a specific group. And that's sort of the rule with a credit union. You've heard of the Boeing Credit Union, the Fireman's Credit Union, the Navy Credit Union.
Yes.
Well, they serve that particular group, the school credit union. In years past, for example, the Teachers Credit Union would be for school teachers and their families.
Right.
But over the years, the credit unions have expanded their base of membership. For example, the schools decided, well, they would let people who live in a particular county that credit union was located, they would let anybody in the county join that credit union, And that's how they changed membership. And that's why credit unions are growing so dramatically, because most of them have changed their membership.
Right.
It's broadened the base quite a bit now. You don't have to be a school teacher to join the Teachers Credit Union now. You just have to live in that area. I want to tell you a little bit about Christian Community Credit Union. We have joined with 5,000 other credit unions, and we have merged our computers and not our business, just the computers. So it makes it very easy access now when you belong to basically any credit union. Whatever credit union you belong to, you can usually walk into your neighborhood credit union and make your deposits and withdrawals, and there's no charge. We all share that, and it's called shared branching. So if you're here, if you have your credit union here in California, and you're visiting in Orlando, Florida, you can go into the Teachers Credit Union in Orlando, Florida, and make a deposit or withdrawal. Your receipt will generally say Christian Community Credit Union, but you're standing in the Florida Teachers Credit Union.
That's very good.
And this wonderful thing called electronic services, Mike, is just absolutely incredible.
Okay.
The moment you step outside the door of that credit union in Florida, your money is in your account immediately to use your debit card or to write checks on it or to
It's very
use your money.
convenient that way.
Excellent, just an excellent way to do your banking through that service. Also, we encourage people to tithe and to honor God with their tithes and their gifts.
I think that's wonderful.
And I want to tell a story about that. I was very fortunate as a little boy growing up. My parents would give me my allowance, Mike, which was really big money at that time. It was 25 cents.
I see.
And I had to put a nickel away for savings, and I had to put a nickel away for tithing. And I had envelopes that I had to put my money in, and I controlled that money for 1 week.
I see.
And at that time, you could buy a Coke for 5 cents. I don't even know what telephones would cost then. It was probably less. It was probably a penny to make a phone call. And of course, the show was really a lot of money. You had to save up a few weeks to go to the show because that was a dime.
That was
to go to the show.
I see. My goodness.
But I'm so grateful for my parents to teach me how to do that.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't do that. But God says that if you tithe, He will bless you dramatically.
Yes.
And, you know, we get this tithe 10%. It is a good thing, but we recommend to tithe more than 10%.
Yes.
And when I'm speaking around the country, people say, should I tithe on my net or should I tithe on my gross? Which one should I tithe on? And my wonderful answer is, how do you want to be blessed?
Yeah.
That's the way you tithe.
Depends on how they want to be blessed.
Exactly.
That's a good answer.
However you want to be blessed, because God will bless you with your tithe. But I have to tell you a story about tithing. And I was, years ago, many years ago, I was supporting a pastor. And I was sending him $25 a month, which was a lot of money. And I would send it to him on the 1st of the month. Well, one month I forgot all about it. And it was like on the 15th or 18th, I realized, oh my goodness, I didn't send the pastor that donation.
Yes.
So I wrote him a check. Instead of for $25, I wrote him a check for $30. And just for fun, I wrote a little note, and I said, Dear Pastor, I'm sorry I'm late with my donation to you, but there's the $25 for the donation, and there's a $5 late fee. And I gave him $30.
Oh, okay.
Well, when he got the check in the mail, he called me. He was laughing. He said, Larry, you don't have to give me a late fee. And I said, well, I felt obligated because I forgot about it. And I said, you know, God used to charge late fees.
That's right.
And he says, what? It's in the Bible, Pastor.
In the Bible, yeah.
I said, can I show you, Pastor, that God did charge late? Yes. He said, I want to see this. So what I did was I looked up, it's Leviticus 27:30. Let me just quickly go to Leviticus 27:30, and let's just see what he said about these late fees. This is so interesting.
Amazing. Yeah.
I didn't know this until I read this. But this is what God said about late fees, and he was charging these people late fees. It's amazing. And he was charging, some people were paying 10% late fee, and guess what? Some people were paying 20% late fee. That's amazing. But let me tell you, here it is, Leviticus 30. It says, a tithe, everything, from the land, whether grain from the soil or fruit from the trees, belongs to the Lord. It is holy to the Lord. And you must redeem, if you're late in your tithe or you hold your tithe back, you need to redeem 1/5 extra, which is 20%.
That's 20%.
So the farmers had to pay a 20% late fee on their tithes. But guess what? If you're a rancher and you had cattle, this is what the people had to do. The people who own the cattle must give back to the Lord 1/10 of their cattle. So they had to give, if they were donating 10 cattle, they had to give one more cattle. So right there in the Bible, late fees are there, yes.
Yeah. So. I bet he was amazed when you told him that.
He was. I recommended him to not mention this to the congregation.
I see.
They might think he's trying to pull something over their eyes.
But I'm sure, Larry, that the Lord blessed you. I'm sure he did.
Yes, the Lord does. I actually also wanted to talk to you about some of the things that's coming along, going back to the FICO again. Your life, like I said before, is going to be controlled by your FICO score. And if your FICO score is 800 or above, you are absolutely in the top of the top. There's only about, I think we figure there are about 13% of the population has a FICO score of 800. And then if you're from 750 to 800, that's 27% of the population. And they say that is very good. And then if you're from 700 and above, let's say that is a good way to be. The most amazing part, we hear people talking about how bad things are, and you just don't seem to make ends meet. But it's amazing. It's actually 58% of the population actually have a good score or an excellent high score. So 58% of the population, that's pretty good, because I thought it would be a lot more people in trouble than they are. There's 27% that FICO says, well, you're not too bad, but if you go out and get a car loan or a loan, they're going to charge you a little bit more interest because you are a risk.
I see.
And then we have the people that are very poor. That's 15%. That means they just probably could not get a loan. But in determining your FICO score, it's so important that if you have a checking account or debit card and you get overdrawn on your account, Mike, it's very, very important to pay back the bank that you overdrew on.
Okay.
And sometimes the situations are very sad. Sometimes they're out of your control. But a lady asked me at one of my conferences, she says, what am I going to do? My rent was $500. It's due on the 1st. And my friend came to me a week before my rent was due, and she said, I need to borrow $500 for a couple days. And she says, well, I have my $500 for my rent, but I can't give it to you because I have to pay it at the end of the week. And her friend says, no, don't worry. I will have it to you back in 2 days. I just need it immediately. It's going to come back, and then you can pay your rent. Well, she said, reluctantly, I gave her my $500. And she said, by Friday, I couldn't find the lady. The lady would not answer phone calls. She went to her house. She says, I'm in desperate needs because I have to have that money for the weekend to pay my landlord.
Of course.
And so she finally found her friend on Saturday, and she told her friend she had to have that money today because the landlord would move her out next week. And so, of course, the lady that received the money was very upset that she demanded the money. And so she said, well, I'll just pay you now. And she wrote her a check. So the lady went to the bank and deposited her check, and then on Monday she wrote a check to her landlord. Well, guess what? Her friend wrote her a bad check. And so what happened in turn was her check then bounced to the landlord.
Of course it would,
And of course you run into penalties and fees and fines and everything else when you bounce a check. So it is very, very important that you have money set aside, that you don't loan money to people. And it's kind of hard because some people need the money. And what we recommend is tell the person that you don't have that money to loan to them because it's going to cut you short. But maybe if they want to borrow $100, you say, well, you know, I could give you $50 right now. I could loan you $50. But as you give them the $50, in the back of your mind, you should say to yourself, this is a gift and I will never receive it. back.
I
Because
see.
9 times out of 10, when people borrow money from you, they will never pay you back. They will cause heartaches. They will cause tremendous problems in your life. And you'll probably lose a relationship.
Yeah.
So do whatever you can to help the person, but remember, you don't have to tell them you're giving it to them, but in your back of your mind say, I will never see this. You're a good person. I love you. Here's $50.
Yeah.
And good luck. So loaning money is really, really, really a bad situation to be in. And I don't know what happened to the lady, but she was really in a predicament. But for example, if you accidentally bounce a check because one thing or another, it may be for $10, and it doesn't sound like very much, but the bank sends you a little statement in the mail saying, hey, you bounced a check, would you please pay us? There's fees and fines of probably close to $100 because of all the fees they charge on it. All of a sudden, that $10 is a major investment for you. Well, you don't do anything about it. You don't have the money. You don't call the bank. You say, well, the bank can take 10. They can absorb my $10 because they're so big. But what happened is, in about 30 days, the bank put your name into a program called Check Systems. Now, this is a new system that if you inadvertently bounce a check and you don't take care of it, usually within 30 to 60 days, the bank will add your name to Check Systems. So what that means is you forget about it, and 6 months later you go to a bank or a credit union to open up an account, and the people there say, well, I'm really sorry, but we can't open an account for you because you're in Check Systems.
You're in the Check System.
Well, what's that? Well, how did I get there? Well, somewhere down the line, you defrauded the bank, believe it or not, by not taking care of a bounced check, and you'll have to go back to that bank and take care of it.
Oh, my.
But the sad part is, it's about as bad as going bankrupt when you get on Check Systems, because it's very difficult to open up an account now. Most banks will not open up an account. It could be a very, very minor amount of money that you forgot to pay, but it's going to hang on to you. And you see so many of these check cashing places all around town. Everywhere you go, on every corner is a check cashing place. Well, they have sprung up dramatically because people can't cash checks. You cannot cash a check in a bank if you're on Check Systems. So you have to go to the little local guy on the corner to cash your check, and you'll pay some tremendous fees to do that.
Wow.
So that's one very, very important thing to do, is always, always take care of that little problem that you caused.
Sure.
And if you just if you're sincere about it, go to the bank, wherever it was, talk to them there, say, hey, I'm sorry, I really made a mistake. I didn't realize it, but I want to pay you back. I can't pay you today, but I will get it back to you maybe within 30 days or whatever is convenient for you. But if you make that contact, generally the bank will be pretty good, and they'll work with you, and you won't end up into the Check Systems. But when you avoid their phone calls, when you avoid their notes in the mail, it becomes a tremendous problem for you, and that will affect you dramatically no matter where you go, whether you're going to get a loan, whether you're going to open an account. It's going to be very, very difficult for you. So try to stay out of Check Systems. Try not to bounce that check. Try not to overdraw. Very important, do not overdraw your debit card. That's another thing. People are not using checks now, they're using debit cards. Once in a while, the bank will honor you and let you slip over your balance, and you will be negative on your debit card. And the people say, well, why did you do that? Now you've put me into a bad situation. Well, you've been with us for 6 months or a year. It was just a few dollars. We thought maybe you could get it back in there right away without causing any fees for you. And the bank was trying to do you a favor, and then you, in turn, let it slip by, and you nailed yourself to the wall, basically, is what happened. Also, Mike, we encourage people to start a savings account. I know it's very, very difficult in these days.
Especially these days with all the things going on.
Oh, I know it.
It's
you got to take the baby to the doctor on Monday because he's got a cold, and the husband says, no, I've got to get that tire for my truck, and it's very, very difficult. But you have to discipline yourself. You have to start putting money away for those special times when you really, really need it. And there's a lot of information on the internet. There's a lot of classes being offered at churches all around the country with the Dave Ramsey program, with the Larry Burkett program. There's several other ones that are very, very good.
And what's so great is that you're going around the country educating the people on these issues that people really need to know these things today, don't they?
Yes, they do, Mike. You have to be very cautious and follow the rules and regulations.
Well, I'm glad as a Christian man that you're working for the Lord and helping the people by informing them and giving them the proper information. I think it's just very, very commendable. And I think, as you say, but if they'll follow these different rules and things that you mentioned today, they should eventually come out all right, right?
Yes, they will, Mike. You're exactly right. Be very cautious when you borrow money. I saw an ad on the TV. It's about a month ago, and it was from an organization that wanted to put $10,000 in your checking account the next day.
Oh my!
And it was just a very short ad, and the fine print was so fine you couldn't read it.
You have to have a magnifying glass to see.
It was a very nice, attractive young lady saying, "We are a Native American company, and we want to do this for you."
I see.
And as it was showing on the TV, I couldn't believe my eyes, but it went off. And I was looking at the fine print with the interest rate. And so, lo and behold, it was just a couple of days later, that same ad appeared. I happened to have my iPhone. I clicked the picture on this TV screen, and after it was over, I reviewed the picture on my iPhone. And, of course, you know you can enlarge the picture.
Oh, yes.
I enlarged the fine print that was at the bottom of that, and it said that your interest rate is only 89%.
Oh, my word.
That's
outrageous.
It is. It's just outrageous. And you say, well, what happened to the 30% or the 29%?
Oh, my Lord.
Well, that's gone now. Actually, banks and financial institutions, lending companies can charge you anything they want to now with the new rules.
Oh, my.
So be very cautious. Don't sign up for 89%. That's going to take your whole lifetime to pay that back.
Right.
But that was very startling to see that.
And I understand that wrapping this up, we have just a couple of minutes left, Larry, but the credit union today, you mentioned they're doing very well in the country today, aren't they? Even in spite of the economy and because of the service, I'm sure that they're offering.
Mike, credit union, most people don't realize that credit unions are really the backbone of our financial setting right now in the United States. You probably hardly ever saw a credit union requiring bailout money.
Right.
In fact, I don't know of any of them that required bailout money. We all stood alone. We all took care of ourselves and been very cautious in loaning money for car loans, for home loans, make sure that people could make their payments and wouldn't put them in a bind. And so, yes, we're very, very strict, but by being very, very strict, we have saved the credit union a lot of losses.
I can imagine. It's been a safeguard.
Yes, and those losses actually turn into it's a challenge with the credit union because the more income they make, basically, the higher interest rates they can pay.
I see.
I might just mention that we have, the Christian Community Credit Union has been very faithful to God, and we're very cautious with the money we loan out. Most people don't even know who we are. We don't advertise, and we kind of fly under the radar. But our main thrust is financing churches.
Can you give the website for our viewers today?
Yes, the website is that's M-Y, and the call letters, CCCU. That's 3 C's and a U, mycccu.com.
Very good.
And you can go on there. We post all our interest rates. We post everything about the credit union. There are pages and pages and pages telling you of our history, and you can get a feel of what we do. And also, we have some tremendous tools that you can use if you go into a system called Balance on our website.
Oh, very good.
That will help you with your finances. That will give you some good ideas on what you can do, what you shouldn't be doing, and how to make your finances balance out to your income.
Wonderful. Well, Brother Larry, we want to thank you for being our special guest on the Promise Broadcasting Network program today from the Marketplace area. Dr. Larry Montgomery, as we mentioned a moment ago, he's director of membership for the Christian Community Credit Union, and we're really been blessed by his information that he gave to us today. It's very valuable information that I know we're all learning. I'm learning by just listening to this wonderful brother tell us about these things. We hope that you'll tune in again next time, and we'll endeavor to bring other guests in the area from the marketplace and other industry to be of help to you, to inform you. And, you know, the Bible says we perish because of a lack of knowledge. Well, certainly God is granting us the knowledge even today through this telecast that is so vitally needed in this particular time. We want to thank you again for tuning in, and we'll be seeing you next time. God bless you real good. Thank you, Brother Larry, for being on the show today.
Thank you, Dr. Mike. Appreciate it.
Excellent.